hope you are having a wonderful summer so far. We are back today with another awesome interview as part of the Confidently Creative Summer Series. I'm really excited because I have Madalyn Yates with me today, and she's pretty much amazing. So we're going to get to know her and get to know about her business and all the good stuff. If this is your very first time tuning into the summer series, here's what I want you to know. So Confidently Creative is all about creating mindset shifts to get you making like major moves across your business. As creatives, we have a lot going on. There's so many different elements of things we're trying to grow and learn and help our customers and clients with, and make sure we're still having a social life and all these different things. So I want to make sure this series is helping each of us see just these incredible like boss babe women who are representing different industries, have different journeys, and sharing their experience. So when it comes to different areas of expertise, you're going to find different mindset shifts being offered within each of the summer series episodes. So if this is your first one, awesome. If you've been watching the whole series, even cooler. Don't be afraid to leave a comment introducing yourself. While you get to know all these amazing women, we also want to get to know you. So feel free to leave a comment about where you are located, what your business is. If you have questions or if something really resonates with you from that interview, we want to know about that kind of stuff. So we are going to get to jump in a sec with Madalyn on the topic of branding mindset. Not usually something you think that has like a mindset to it. When we talk about like money mindset or like the wellness and personal care mindset, sometimes that seems a little more concrete. But branding is actually one of those things that I think takes courage to be authentic in our brands, to show up as ourselves. And branding is actually one of my absolute favorite topics. I think it's the best way to really connect with our customers. It's how we build trust. It's how we build relationships. And honestly, guys, it's how we make sure our customers don't feel like they're just a transaction, and how we remind them that we're more than a business. And I literally chose Madalyn because I think she's amazing at doing just that and showing up in her brand, and showing us her face and showing us her life and having us connect with her, not just her business. So I am gonna shift things over to Miss Madalyn for a sec and see if she would like to tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your business, all that good stuff.
Perfect. Well, hi, I'm Madalyn, and I am a photographer based in Greensboro, North Carolina, originally from Florida. I moved here about, 7 years ago, so it's been really awesome being up here, but I do miss the Florida weather sometimes. Anyways, I have been doing photography for a little over 7 years as of last month, and recently made the switch from a wedding and lifestyle photographer to a branding and lifestyle photographer. And it's just been a really cool transition throughout the process, and kind of learning how to accept it as it comes, and just taking every obstacle with grace and compassion, I guess. I live in a fixer-upper with my dog Shaylee and a cat Cooper, and when I'm not photographing, I love spending time outside with friends and family. That's just a little bit about me and my business.
So I always forget that you're also from Florida. So why? I don't know why I forget that like every time. I'm also from Florida. I've been here 5 years. So we are both in North Carolina. So
that's all. It's really cool to see, like, there's so many people that actually, a friend of mine is moving up this week from Florida, and I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah,
I definitely miss like the beach and things like that being so close, but otherwise I'm loving having seasons here instead of just being hot.
All the seasons and all the weather.
Oh yeah. So with that shift, like from going from more weddings and things like that into brand photography, that in itself is a big shift. So when it comes to like your individual brand, how do you feel like your branding has evolved since you first launched like 7 years ago?
Sure. So I wrote here, I said, gosh, I don't even think I had a brand 7 years ago. And I don't think I did, because I was just like learning photography and getting to know people, and learning how to have fun in photography. So I didn't really have like a brand, so to speak. And I think the brand started developing honestly like 3 years ago, and that's 4 years into business. And so like, don't think you have to have it right when you start. It's definitely an evolving process. So back in September, I made a huge investment in a brand web designer, and Ida, she completely transformed my whole website, which I think helped with my brand as a whole, but also in my confidence in building that, and bringing that to the forefront. And so she helped me discover my why and creating a home for my images and for my clients to come and see my work rather than just like another website that they just kind of scroll on. Whereas now it's a home, and so they hear more about me and my brand. So definitely having a whole palette of colors to use for branding, words to help with that, logos. Just over the last year, it's evolved tremendously. And so I have loved to see where it's gone. And not that I don't love where it was 7 years ago, but it's really great to see the transformation and the confidence that's coming out in myself and my work and the people that I work with. So I don't know if that.
Yeah. That's perfect. And
Okay.
I don't know, also like you said, like how you come out, but then the types of customers that you're attracting because you're being like more open about who you are and they get to see you, and you're probably getting even more of those people that like you're in love with working with.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to show up to a job or a session because it's a job. Like I want to show up and be like, hey, how are you? What was your day like? What were you doing? Like, well, yesterday when I had my sessions, so many people were like, I just loved hanging out with you. I'm like, okay, I mean, you're not here for that, but like, that's awesome that they feel that way, that they can feel like they can talk to me about anything while doing their photos. So it makes them more comfortable too. So
I was gonna say, you probably wind up with way better quality like photographs and people who actually are looking like themselves and being comfortable because they can be so comfortable with you.
mm-hmm.
Like
Sure.
I'm not a fan of being in front of the camera. So I've actually had the pleasure of shooting with Madalyn like 2 different times now. And it's true, like when you work with a photographer that you can just be yourself and you're like, oh yeah, we're taking photos, but I'm also just talking and laughing. And the photos come out so much more you and less posed and awkward, and because you can be so comfortable. So I think being able to showcase yourself, it benefits the customer too, not just like the brand part of things.
Yeah, and when I started 7 years ago, I was in school, so I was finishing college, and I was working at JCPenney Portrait Studio. And if you've ever been to a portrait studio, you know it's totally different than like on set outside. And so I definitely had that perspective of studio work as well. And I do not appreciate, like, I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. I'm so glad I'm not working in a studio anymore like that, just because that makes it so much more tense and so much more formal inside. Whereas if we're out in a field, you can, just be yourself and hang out. And I'm just there capturing all of those moments. So
I love that. So curious. We talk a lot about in the series, like different mindset shifts and things. Can you share some of the biggest mindset like mistakes or misconceptions that you see other business owners battling when it comes to like showing up in their brand or showing their face in their brand?
Sure. So I definitely see a lot of business owners battling with self-confidence due to the comparison trap, especially like in the photography world. We all know it's a saturated industry, and I'm not saying it's a bad saturated, it's just there's a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I feel like every day there's someone else coming up as a photographer, and we can get caught up in comparing our work with our competitors, or just like comparing like, oh, they are this busy. Comparing our workloads with one another is crazy, because I do it definitely because we all have different seasons of what's most heavy for our workload. So like there's wedding photographers who are busy in the spring and the fall, and then there's other people that are busy in the winter because they're branding photographers. So we all compare our workloads, and that's not healthy for us at all, because we'll get exhausted about focusing on how much we're doing and not how much we're putting into what we're doing. I definitely have battled personally with like, well, they've been in the business for X amount of years and I'm just starting, so there's no way that I can charge, or there's no way that I can offer the services they offer because they have so much more experience. And that's not true. You just have to adjust your mindset on what and why you're doing what you're doing, and then it kind of helps with that, and help everything else will kind of fall into place with you. So your workload will become what you want it to be and what you need it to be, and rather than working constantly and not getting fed, because you have to be fed in order to pour out to your clients and pour out to your people in the industry and all of that. So,
and knowing, I like how you said like knowing like your what and your why, and like staying centered on that instead of like falling into that comparison. because I think like anyone, whether they're an artist, a photographer, a baker, jewelry maker, like didn't mean for that to rhyme.
Look at you go.
Candlestick maker.
Being crafty.
But any of those things, like we definitely fall into that comparison trap. Like I know I do. I know it's very easy to do. And even with like how you come across in your brand and the things you're sharing, and if you don't concentrate on that what and why, like you said, like it's really easy to be like, well, they're successful, they're booked all the time, and look, they all have all this experience, and so I should do what they're doing. And
Right.
it's no, because if that's not authentic to you, it's not going to come across, like you're not going to build connection. And if someone then sees you like on Instagram, for instance, and you're trying to be like these two amazing photographer brands, then I met you.
Right. You don't want to show them something wrong or
Yeah, I'd be
that
like,
they don't see.
you
Yeah.
seem like that at all. Like that's not who I expected to meet.
hmm So I definitely, yeah, on Instagram, social media, Instagram stories, like be who you are. And if people don't want to listen to it or read it or whatever you're sharing, they don't have to, but you will connect with one person, and that one person could lead to so many more. So
Oh, yeah, it's like a cat. I feel like branding's like a catch and release. Like you're not gonna be for everybody, but that's okay.
right.
Like you, and like when you switch your brand up or like you see it evolving, there may be people who've been following you on social or have booked you before that maybe it doesn't resonate as much, they don't connect as much. That's fine. Let those people go. Catch and release.
Yeah.
You're gonna keep getting the people who you're on fire to work with because they relate to you so well.
Yeah, for sure.
So okay, so then we know you've evolved. Have changed, and you show your face more, you have more of a home for your website where people really get to connect. What has been something like you yourself really had to push past when it came to like your own branding journey? And even like it could be the mushy stuff and like deep, or even like little like posting photos of your face or doing
Yeah.
Instagram story videos, like any of that. What were some of those things you had to push past?
So the biggest thing was, like I said a little bit earlier, but people not caring about what you share, and finding the right content to share with your audience is hard, especially when you are making switches because I was a wedding photographer, but now I'm trying to go into a different industry of
Yeah.
branding. But do I still share wedding photography because it gets me more attention and more likes and more comments, or do I just completely drop that and go directly into branding and not worry about the interaction that I'm getting at first, because it's going to take a time to build and people to see that you're transforming into a different kind of industry and different, photography. So yes, I'm a photographer who focuses in branding and lifestyle, but that isn't always what people want to see.
Yeah.
And it's hard to adjust, but like adjusting your mindset to a place of this is what I do and what I want to share and what I want to do with people is really important. And the likes they don't care. That's something I think we all battle with, and we're always like, oh, I've got this many likes, but it's more so the comments and the interactions and the possible person that you're going to book to work with in the future basis versus just how many likes is on social media. So
Oh yeah, you could have like a million people. I don't know. I always think that's vanity numbers. Like you could have
yeah,
an account that has 1 million followers and you only have 200. And it's like, yeah, but how many of those million followers are actually booking their services or purchasing their goods or,
just being really authentic with you. Like, I mean,
yeah, and engaging.
yeah, engaging. Yeah, that's the word. And so like you mentioned, videos on Instagram. I recently have started to do those more, and it's tricky because you don't want to say the wrong thing or you think it has to be perfect. But again, you just want to show up in your brand and your social media authentic, and people will connect. And I definitely show my face more these days than I did back 7 years ago. I mean, back then I would share maybe a picture every, I don't know, 3 weeks, and then it started getting to like 1 week, and now you're supposed to show your face every 6 to 9 squares. So I definitely show that more often now, and in your feed, but also in your stories. People go on every single day and just say, hey, just talk about your day. You don't have to talk about business or what you do. You just tell them what you did personal today, your social life. Have little recaps, because again, like people will relate to you and connect with you if you're just being honest and sharing your story and who you are as a person.
So for those who, Like I know clients that I work with, or when I host like a workshop and we talk about this, you have some people who are like, okay, yeah. And then you have other people, I think right now, who are like, oh, that's so terrifying, like doing a video, like I don't want to hear my voice or see myself talking or posting that very first like photo.
Mhm.
What kind of advice do you have just for like getting started doing that, like starting
Yeah.
to get comfortable?
Yeah. So I typed out here, I said, just like Nike, so just do it. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
But like, I mean, it is. And just take baby steps if you don't know, if you don't want to go full force at the beginning, like if you don't want to be sharing your whole process on video at the beginning, you don't have to do that. But start incorporating more of who you are while sharing your content. So every 6 to 9 squares, make sure you have a picture of yourself, and say, you don't have like I started by sharing my face once a week and creating a conversation on social media about my favorite things. It does, like I said, it doesn't have to be business related. I talk about my obsession with Magnolia. Like people connect with that and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I love that show too," or "Oh my gosh, I love their style." And so people will relate to it, and who knows, they could book you because they connected with you in what you said about your personal life. And I would also say like invest in a business coach or a web designer who serves your industry and serves them well, because they can easily help you boost your confidence and help you come up with topics to talk about that are a little bit easier to connect and a little easier to break down, so to speak, on video, because you don't want to take a super heavy topic right off the bat.
No, and it's baby steps too. Like
Yeah.
you said in the beginning, maybe it was every so often you posted, and then it became now it's like, oh, every like week or every, however many images on Instagram and stuff. And it takes time to get comfortable. And with Instagram stories, that's the like Instagram stories, Facebook stories, it's such a low commitment level.
Yeah.
24 hours. So challenge yourself to show up even in little ways. And
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be high production value, right? Like you could be sitting outside, like drinking
Right.
coffee and just talking to people. Just showing up like does so much.
Sure. And I mean, if you have to in your calendar, just set a day that you can just kind of batch record if it's something that you don't feel like you have time to show up for every single day. I've done batch recording and just changed my shirt, put my hair in a ponytail just so that people can see that you're showing up, but you don't have to set a whole week apart or aside for that. But yeah, that's one little helpful.
Yeah.
And just write down on your planner or your board or whatever, you just to be reminded that, oh, show up on Instagram today. Doesn't matter what you're sharing, just show up.
I like that idea too, like keeping yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Like, okay, on
It's
Wednesday.
hard. And like you're at first, if you don't see any response to it, don't let that beat you down. Like people, not everybody's on Instagram when you post things. So just give it time and give it the 24 hours. And if you want to continue sharing it, share it again or save it to your highlights and share it like that.
Yeah, it's just being consistent. And I think that can be hard for us. Whoa, I'm sorry. Choking up over here. It's very emotional. But
Drink your water, drink your water.
but I don't know, like being consistent sometimes, I know that's a challenge too, because if you're not seeing the likes or the follows or the comments and engagement, it's like, okay, well, I did that video and that was really out of my comfort zone and no one said anything.
Yeah.
But like you said, not everyone's on all the time, and you're going to show up in people's feeds at different times or at the top of their stories on Instagram. And but showing up in your brand, be consistent in like how often you're showing up, and also just like the quality. Like
Yeah.
be you. It doesn't, like Madalyn said, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to give tips about my business or I'm going to share about a promotion I'm running. It could be about, hey, what's on your mind this week or something important to you, or it can be anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So a question that I'm asking all of our awesome interviewees during this whole series, we're talking about being confidently creative. And I think that means a lot of different things to different people. It can be the more hands-on creativity, more the way we think about things in our business and our life. So I'm curious, what does being confidently creative mean to you? How would you translate that?
Okay. Well, like we've been saying this whole time, but just being authentically you and going all in and bringing you to the forefront. If your audience can get to know you and trust you, then the service or product will come easy to you. And going into each session and project with the same, I'm here to serve you, bring your life or bring life to your session, whether that's a branding or a lifestyle session or whatever project you're doing, just bringing what your why is into it is so helpful and shows the world that who you are. And don't downplay who you are. I've had many people ask me like, oh, what's your name? What do you do? And at first, 7 years ago, I was like, I'm Madalyn. I'm in school. I work here. Like, this is just life. But now I've changed that, and I confidently go into saying, hi, I'm Madalyn. I'm a branding and lifestyle photographer.
Yes.
And people will automatically like pick up, and they're like, oh, she really knows what she wants, or she knows what she's doing. So maybe that shows me that I should invest in her and her services rather than someone just is like, really chill about it. So definitely.
I love that. I did an interview with Carrie Roberts, who does amazing like coaching and stuff. And we talked all about side hustle mindset, and we talked about how the fact that when we introduce ourselves, sometimes we do downplay, like instead of like, if whether you're a side hustle, you're full-time, or you feel like that comparison syndrome, like in the beginning, it's, hi, I'm Madalyn Yates, and you don't, like, the photography part was like in the background. But being confident, saying what you do, like what you want to be known for, own it in that introduction in the beginning. Don't feel like, oh, I'm Taryn Drez, and I like creative stuff. Like, no, like I'm a creative business coach.
Nobody's gonna, you might have someone book with you, but you'll have more of a chance to relate and connect with people if you're very confident in how you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And definitely being creative or confident in what your craft is too. And just, if you have a new idea, don't be afraid to try it, and your clients might end up really loving that idea. So just bring it all to the forefront for sure.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so if people want to connect with you and see your awesome branding in action and get to see your face more and get to learn all about your brand photography, where can people connect with you?
All right, so on Instagram, because we know we're all over there, people can find me at Madalyn Yates Photo, so just my first and last name with photo at the end, or they can come on my website or my home of images, and that is www.madelynyatesphotography.com. And I will definitely be posting maybe tomorrow about branding, and I would love for them to come in and drop in and maybe leave a comment, or just kind of say, hey, I heard you on Taryn's podcast interview, and I just would love to connect with you, just so I can connect with them and cheer them on.
Oh, yay. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
And I will be, so anyone who's watching, like, if you wrote that down, great, but I will have it in the blog post notes that the video is embedded in. So awesome. You'll have all the info on how to get a hold of Madalyn, look into her photography, check her out on Instagram, all that stuff. But like she said, we all hang out on Instagram, so it's a great way to connect.
Especially nowadays, like I feel like that's just where everybody's at. I have a Facebook, but it's not my business name, so it's a little tricky to find. So that's why I like people to go to Instagram or my website.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for just showing
up. You're welcome. Thank you.
Everything with us and getting to be on, and I'm really excited for people to hopefully feel encouraged to show up in their own brands, to show their faces more, even though it can be really scary.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited. Guys, if you enjoyed this interview, please feel free to show Madalyn some love over on Instagram. Don't forget to tune in to the other interview episodes. So there's a different topic that we're covering about mindset throughout the whole summer through June to August. So check that out, and make sure to let us know if you have questions. These ladies that are giving their time and expertise during these interviews want to know you, want to connect. So feel free to reach out if you have questions or anything else. But go enjoy your summer, and see you in the next episode.
Awesome.